Okay, so this month we are doing insects, and Shivangi messaged me earlier and asked me very worriedly, I think, are you really going to do insects the whole month?
I am very much interested, and once I saw that post, so I was so excited to attend it. So I
Okay.
asked whether it is on Wednesday or Saturday batch or on both the batches.
All batches, all batches. And then there are a couple of ladies who have said, please, why are you doing this? It's all these. So while I have on the one hand, somebody is really excited, and the other hand, people are saying, can I just skip this month?
Skip this one.
But yeah, and that's happened in the past where there are certain topics that are so sensitive for people. Like when we did reptiles, there were some ladies who said anything is fine but no snakes. Then somebody said anything is fine, I'm okay with snakes but no lizards. So there was something or the other that would grate everyone the wrong way. And in fact, there was one kids class where I had a kid who had something with eggs. And I
Oh,
was making an Easter egg painting activity. She got so put off, she left class.
oh
Not
my.
just that class, but she just left the batch.
Uh,
So I'm not going to handle this. Anyway, the reason I do insects is primarily because insects are not given as much attention as they should, I feel. There is a huge variety of things that we can see in insects. And they're just because they're considered very creepy, nobody studies them so much. The variety of textures, colors, color combinations, just shapes, sizes, and of course, they are extremely interesting when when you do a little bit of reading about them as well. The primary reason why I like to do insects is to study symmetry. So we have a very small size insect. We are all familiar with their structure more or less. So that is not new. And we are able to create a semblance of most insects from a very young age, especially something like butterflies. I think one of the first few things that we learn to draw as kids and are very proud of is butterflies. And then some people graduate towards bees and then other bugs. So that's where it stops. But I found that you can study symmetry in a more mathematical manner when we address, say, butterflies. They do have a remarkably accurate symmetry between the left and the right side. And that is, I guess, one of the reasons why they've evolved in that manner and also have survived in that manner. So you can't have a pattern on one side that is pristine and on the other side is a little wishy-washy. So I guess that the camouflage that they depend on is just not going to be effective. So those have probably died out. So we are going to tackle butterflies today. Now, this is a topic that I have done in all the other batches at least twice. So they have requested to do other bugs. So if any of you want to do, say, dragonflies or beetles or scarabs or things like this, or even larvae, pupae, caterpillars, we are going to do all of those in the Tuesday batch for sure. So if you want, you can attend that or definitely check out the recording on YouTube because those will be slightly different from the other classes. I think even Saturday might do something other than butterflies and moths. So I'm going to share the pictures. Incidentally, Livia has joined. So Ashwita was trying to contact you, Livia, and then she was worried that you hadn't responded. So I thought, I'll send you a
yeah,
message.
so I saw one plus pad over there. She's
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I just saw it. So,
Yeah, she's
yeah.
missing the loyal trooper.
Yeah, I missed two classes
Yeah.
back to back. Yeah.
So I was wondering whether it is like Durga Puja fever or something like that that you probably
Yeah, actually, I had guests one day, and one day I had to go out, so I couldn't.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Now in the
Yeah.
festive season, all these things will happen.
Yeah, it'll keep happening, but yeah, I'll try to attend.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going backwards from the last pictures that I have sent. So here, I just want us to look at the patterns and how varied the pattern is, but the colors are fairly limited. You have an orange, you have a like a light teal color, some variety of browns and tans, and black and white. And just with those limited colors, there is so much vibrancy that one sees in this wing. Then we have, I think this is called a monarch butterfly. This is, I think, one of the most celebrated butterflies simply because they have this huge migration from, I think, the south of the US all the way down to Mexico. And it's all really dramatic. So they get a lot of press coverage, I think. Now, this is the right side of the same butterfly, and I've just flipped that over, and we have the left side. Now, if you notice what we see on the right, when we flip it over, you'll see it differently. The right side looks a certain way, the left side looks slightly maybe stretched or taller. I don't know why it is that we see things like that. So I wanted you to see how it works even when it's split from the left and the right. The other butterflies, I have shared both sides, and we are going to attempt to sketch many of them. We are going to make some loose sketches today, not too many very accurate lines, and fill up some colors and just have fun with some allowing colors to mix the way they want to and create really nice watercolor abstractions. But in the process, we are also going to learn to see symmetry and break it down into an easy mathematical formula. Now, I think this is a moth. This is a moth as well. This is a moth. I think all of these which have hairy stuff are moths, isn't it? Or the ones that, no, this is a butterfly. I'm very confused. Anybody who has done zoology or something can please enlighten us about how to tell.
Yes, moths are generally very light colored. Mostly they are mimicked with stones or stems or like that. The colorful are mostly the butterfly, and they are larger in size than the moths.
Ah, okay. Great. So there was one that I heard was when butterflies perch on something, they close their wings, but moths spread their wings out. So if this is spread out wings, then I suppose this would be, but this doesn't look like a butterfly
This
at all.
must be a preserved.
And also the antenna are different. The
Yes,
antenna on
this is moth.
this
This
is
is moth.
definitely a
Yeah.
moth.
This is
And
definitely a moth, but the other ones I'm doubtful. I think those
this
are all
looks more like a
butterflies.
butterfly, right?
The others look like butterflies, yeah.
Right.
The first one, the orange and black one, looks like a moth, like the
Yes,
hairy structure, the antennas of it.
correct, correct.
Also,
The
moths
head
has
also is
bigger
different
eyes.
in this.
The moths has bigger eyes than the butterflies.
Okay.
Butterflies
Got bigger eyes.
eyes are not much visible, but in moths
Yeah.
it is very visible
Okay. So
because generally they travel like they are nocturnal. So that's why.
right, right. So they need more, I guess, visual aids. Okay, so right. So first we are going to attack
It's
this.
a Virginia tiger moth.
Oh, is it?
I said,
Okay,
yeah, I
wonderful.
said, let's search for it.
Might as well. Then.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Virgin
this
tiger
one,
moth. Yeah. Yeah.
I want you to first sketch just one side. I'm going to give you an easy task. We are going to just sketch this out, but I'm not going to give instructions for this. I want you to try and do this. Just take 5 minutes, sketch it out in pencil or in pen, and use whatever technique you would like to come up with a shape that looks like this. No more than 5 minutes because it has to be like a quick sketch. I'm going to do the same. So you will be able to see what I'm doing. It's not like a big secret, but what I want you to do is try to do it yourself so that um, you immediately come up with some problem areas, and then we can address those while in the next part. Are you done? Take one more minute and then stop at whatever point you have come. So hopefully none of you is erasing while you're doing this, because if you are, then you will spend even more time. Okay. Shall we see what we've made? And if you can just speak about how you have illustrated it. Okay, let's see Libya's. Okay. Okay, very nice.
Actually, I started making the moth. I didn't hear that we had to make the left the
Okay,
butterfly. So I started with the moth, and then I saw, oh, it's the butterfly we even have to make. So I
Oh,
did
even
that.
I did the
Not
moth.
bad. Oh, even you did the
Yeah.
moth. You mind it, it doesn't matter. We had to
There's
just
some distracted children who don't listen.
Yeah, actually, something happened. I also started making the moth first. Then I saw Aditi making it. I said, oh, we have to make the butterfly.
yeah, this moth is also looking nice. Let's see, Kiara. Okay. All right, very nice. So what are your thoughts on the illustration?
I think for me, it was a little difficult getting the proportion of the top and the bottom wing. For
Right.
me, I rounded the bottom one and made it a lot fatter than it should be.
Okay.
Um, and then plotting where the finer lines are, that's something that I like really had to go back and forth, looking back and forth between the picture and then the page. It
Right.
was tricky to get like all the little details and all the little spots.
Yeah.
But I started off with two boxes.
Uh-huh.
That's how I started it. So
Mhm.
like one rectangular box and then a square box for the bottom wing.
Mhm.
And that's where I like kind of tried to get the shape.
Yeah. So that's how I would have also recommended it if you want to break it up into shapes. So that's a great way to go about. And once you have drawn it, only after that you know what adjustments to make. Right? So today I want us to just get used to seeing this subject and making a lot of these kinds of sketches. We will make some sketches in pencil and we'll make some sketches in pen if you are comfortable with that, or you can continue making them in pencil and then we're just going to throw some watercolor in it. So I want you to just observe how I'm going to sketch this. I'm going to do it in ink this time. And I will do the second butterfly. Now, the first one I have made in pencil. I'm going to make the second one in ink. And I will explain the process the way as I go along. So I'm using a waterproof ink. This is a Noodler's waterproof ink with a dip pen. I use a dip pen sometimes. I use the same ink in even in fountain pens. So this works pretty well. So when you have to start a sketch, it's often a good idea to keep your hand pretty loose. So I'm even on this, I'm going to draw several very light lines, but I'm going to draw several lines. And these lines are not hesitating lines like this. Although moss is probably one place that you might be able to get away with that line. There are a lot of places where we might need to throw a line to give us direction. So you should do this without hesitation. So these lines can be, they may be right, they may be wrong. So I am deliberately making some lines which are incorrect. But it's not enough to just draw a line. It is important after you draw the line to evaluate whether this is the right direction or not. I can already see that this line is uh, heading down a little bit and this line is coming even further down like so. The ends of the lines I can check based on this. Where does the body end? And then how far does this shape go? And then that it sags over here and then is a little more upright like this. So every curve also has a different identity. It is not just very round. So as you go around this, you can evaluate that. Similarly for the top. Now, the top wing emerges from behind this bottom wing. We are probably seeing this butterfly from the dorsal side. So a lot of this is overlapped and it emerges somewhere here, turns like this and goes up. And this line is also not straight. It is at an angle. So somewhere like that. Now I have done away with all those little scallop shapes on the wing because I want to first figure out if I'm getting the wings right. After this is done, I will break this down to the shapes as I see them in the same format, but this time I will use more lines. So this is not like a round shape. It appears round because of how straight lines are placed in the entire wing. And each line I will draw looking at the reference image. You should never assume that you see what you see unless you can verify it on the picture itself. Now, once this is done, here I have the opportunity now to actually give shape. And I will notice that the membrane goes up between these segments and then comes outward at the apex of each line. Now, how many times have we seen butterflies? Have we ever noticed that this is how their structure goes? And then on the top, the same thing. Don't make the edge before you make the structure of the wings. Also, it is not round over here. There is a flat line here, here, and here. And then we have these shapes. As much as you can see, you should make it. So in the beginning, all these shapes can be very confusing. And you are free to make these errors, but just make your errors look beautiful. That's all. I'm sure the butterfly will not mind. So here, I will again go here, the space between the membranes comes out just a little bit, not too much. And the scallop shape is inverted. So don't assume again that what you see is what is happening everywhere. And it's also a very subtle shape. This is what we want. Then when it comes to blocking the colors, even here, keep your lines loose. We are not right now looking at accuracy. We are playing with this subject and we just want to get a sense of how this subject looks. This is like doing a grocery list on rough paper. You're not going to go and calligraph your grocery list, but it serves its purpose, right? So this is the purpose of this is to loosen up your hand and become accustomed to the subject. So this is a method that I generally recommend for anyone who wants to take on a more serious project for themselves. Never, ever, ever take on your project on the fair paper first. You must at least do 5 or 10 sketches as just warm up for your brain and for your creative energy to flow. The first idea is the worst idea, or it's like the base minimum idea that you can come up with. And I can safely say that our country is totally built on this very safe, boring, and very basic idea. And I don't blame the people, I blame the schools for this because we are never taught to make mistakes firstly, learn from mistakes, test out stuff. It's just not there in our system. Just get over with it is what we have been taught. So I don't blame anyone. But it's about time we can change it for ourselves. So your picture is going to look very, very scratchy. And we want that. We don't want a pristine looking picture, at least for now. So if you want to attempt this in pen, actually, I'm going to insist that you do this in pen. Just dump the pencil for this exercise and just try it in pen. There's no going back. So either but fortunately this is not like a sink or swim situation. You will swim, you will just ugly swim, then that won't be bad. Okay, so I'm going to bring this a little closer so that you can see the lines, and you can maybe, if you get stuck somewhere, you might also see the shape and use that as a reference. Try doing the same butterfly, the second one, the one which is black, white, orange, blue, all of those colors.
Pencil at all, right? We just go.
Yeah, just go with the pen. You all already warmed up once by drawing one butterfly in pencil. So have faith. Your eyes will have acclimatized to these shapes. How's it going? Are you all done?
Okay.
Oh, let's see. Oh, very nice. Good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it turned out good. Yeah. How do you like it?
I like it, but I think so. I don't like the lower wing that much. The upper wing is looking nice.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the lower wing, I've not got the shape that much, but the upper wing, I like the upper wing.
Good.
And so
Could
it's,
you share a picture of this on the group so I
yeah,
can just speak about it, just show everyone and speak about it. I'll request everyone to do that when you're done now. Just put it on the group. Yes, let's see Ashwita's. Okay, very nice.
Yeah, I think I'm getting too much into the detail. I'm not. I didn't do the loose thing is bit.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna do more of that. So I think we'll come to that. Yes. So even you, Ashwita, if you could just share your picture. So there's something about drawing that thing in a very loose structure that does not come very easily to most of us, most of the time. And there are multiple reasons why that happens. So I'm just going to give you a few tips on how you're drawing because I can't see what you're doing right now. Just check for yourselves where you're holding the pen and how you are holding it. So if you are holding the pen too close,
I'm
it
doing it.
it limits your action to uh, the and the length of the line to maybe about an inch and no more than that. So if you can hold the pen further away, then it helps. Now, the pens that we are using, if you are using any of these micron tip pens,
Yeah.
which is what I have asked you to use, you cannot hold them like this and draw because they don't give you a good line. So you have to hold it upright. So in that case, your line has to be drawn like this, but you can still hold it further away. Then in that case, you use the heel of your palm as an anchor to draw lines.
Even
When
after knowing this, that we need to hold the pen further back, while drawing, you just forget about it and start drawing in that
yeah,
way.
that's normal and natural actually. I'm glad you brought that up. So it is recommended sometimes if you want to change your grip, you can put a rubber band over here so that you know where exactly it should go. It gives you a little bit of a
Right. That's a good
and
idea. That's a
and it
good.
reminds you always that you have to put it over here. You keep
Yeah,
your hand.
that's a nice idea, actually.
Yeah. So then amongst the other things that you should do is keep only your tool or so much of your drawing tool on the surface when you're drawing. What I mean is that don't let your hand cover what you're drawing. Half the time, our lines are, when we hold the pen close, our lines are not accurate because we can't even see where it has to go. So you'll end up drawing this and then you'll do this and then you'll try to do this and you lose the fluidity, which is what we're trying to do. So if you hold it further away, only a small section of your picture is obscured that you won't see, but you still know where to take your line. The third thing is when you are drawing horizontal lines, keep your pencil vertical. So don't try to draw a horizontal line like that. It does not come well. And when you're drawing vertical lines, keep your pencil or pen horizontal. All this changes when you're drawing the line like this with a pen, which is mostly upright. But still, if you can tilt it like that or keep your hand pivoted like this instead of trying to draw it like this sideways and keep your hand sideways when you're drawing a vertical line instead of keeping it like this, it will help you get a much more controlled and fluid line. So especially with pencil, you can do it vertical line, horizontal pencil, horizontal line, vertical pencil. Draw all the curves by holding the drawing tool further away and using the heel of your palm to make these curves long and to throw the line out. This is the best way that we can make sure the line is light. When we draw it with a heavy hand, obviously we're going to get it too dark and it looks too clunky. So we are going to try and use this to draw the next butterflies. But this time we are going to now break the two up and we're going to use both pencil and pen. We are going to create a, a structure like a framework using just squares and circles and lines. And then we are going to populate that framework with the shape that makes the butterfly or the moth in this case as well. So some of you have already drawn the moth, right? We will move on to the second butterfly then. So between butterflies, you will notice that like our faces are different, while they too have four wings and two antennae, the colors are different, the shapes and the proportions and segments and all of these are different, which make them unique. And that is what we have to try to figure out and bring into our illustration. So in this case, how we draw the butterfly, the simplest way is to start off using the body of the butterfly as a unit measure. So this becomes like your one head distance or 1 inch distance. It's an arbitrary distance which can help you build everything else. Now, from here, if we were to identify where the wings start, you can first break this line in half. So it's somewhere over here. Oops, sorry. Let me redraw that. So very objectively, we draw a line bisecting the vertical body line to about so much. I think this is bisected equally. You can always use your pencil to measure this out. So obviously the wings and the head, everything starts on the top, and what you have at the bottom, I think it's called the abdomen. That is completely wing free. Even their legs, I think, are all attached to what this is. I think this is called the thorax, right? I love these things from school science. Divide it in a quarter, and here you get the starting point of 2 of the wings for us to draw. Divide it into 1/8, and you get the head. And very close to that is the top of the upper wing. So this way we can very objectively come to some understanding of where to start what with very, very clear measurements. Now, once this is done, we move to other directions and other lines. Like, for example, the length of the wing. How far does it go? I'm going to draw a square to get us an idea of how far it goes. And the square will begin from here. So this is the length of the body. And I have also now projected it outward so that we get the length in terms, the wing span in terms of the length of the body. Now this square, if I were to repeat, I'm trying very hard to figure out how these things move. There. This is a new thing they've started on Zoom, and I love it, but I still haven't got a handle on this, how it works. Okay, so this is the square, and I'm going to copy it. Oh, I don't know why it's not doing it now. Never mind. I can come to about half. Or I'll extend the half on this side. Okay, so we get some idea of the height of the wing. So it's about 1.5 times the length of the body. Now remember, this is not an exact science, but at least it gives you an idea. So the problem that you were having about how big it should go, how far it should go, at least that gets addressed to some extent. The bottom wing is, we can draw some more lines, and we can maybe bisect the square and make another square at the bottom and see how far that goes. So yeah, 1.5 times this side to the right, 1.5 times to the bottom, and we have a good shape going. Anything that you feel confused about, just use lines and shapes to figure more stuff out. And you'll start seeing that these grids are fairly well organized even in insects. Look at how they so beautifully align. So the 1/2 point of the body aligns to where there's a split in the wings. That is on the bottom right, excuse me, of the corner of the main square itself. So there's too many things that are just beautiful over here. I can also make a line to give us the height of the head, which also comes at 1/2 distance of the wing. You know what I mean? This is all lining up very beautifully. Right. So now after this comes the question of direction. We've got all these measurements right, but we can still screw this up. which we don't want. So now we are going to measure distance, angles, and that angle can be measured from just our understanding of the clock face. So if I were to go straight up, this is 12 o'clock, this is 3 o'clock, right? The point of axis seems to be this part right in the center here. And from here, if I were to draw a line, where does this wing seem to be going? Let's say if I have to take this to the tip here, where is this going? Is this 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or somewhere in between? Where is this going? This is headed maybe towards 2 o'clock. And you can use this to plot a line after line after line. Where is this line going? From here, the bottom of that wing is headed towards maybe 4 o'clock. Then it's horizontal, and then it's going back to maybe 2 o'clock. Is it 2 o'clock? So at every point you can say go to 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So this is somewhere between 1 and 2. Then from the bottom, the bottom wing does not really start or end exactly at this point, but it starts adjacent to the middle point and to the side of the thorax, abdomen. And this line is somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock, then points towards 5 o'clock, then goes horizontal. Then you have a nice curve till this point. And that's about it. All our lines are beautifully measured and plotted. Now, once you have this, how easy is it to now put it on the other side? You just have to make sure you have to draw these lines straight and those many squares. And there's not too many squares. I think we can do it, right? I'm going to share this with everyone on the group so that you have something to refer to. One time. And let's try drawing this. So we are going to draw the framework in pencil. And then we are going to draw the butterfly in the combination of pencil and pen. So if you are comfortable just going directly with pen after the framework is made, just do it that way. If you still feel you would like to make a few lines in pencil and then make them in pen, even that is fine. But please don't use an eraser if you can help it. The less you use an eraser, the faster we'll be going. Okay, I've shared the butterfly now, the framework. Now remember, we have two sides to this butterfly. So plot where the butterfly is going to come first. Use your hands to figure this out. It's at least 3 squares wide, right? We have 2 squares. We have this body in the center, then we have a square, and we have a half of the same square on the side. So it's 1.5 squares on this side, 1.5 squares on this side. So based on that, you can decide how tall your body should be. Give ample space on top and bottom and sides. I'm starting somewhere over here, and I'm going to keep my body just about this big. We can measure a rectangle shape that's about 1/8 the size of our square. Just an arbitrary number right now. And then I'm going to, this is just visually made from the grid. Based on this, I am going to make our we have the center line. We divide it in half, 1/4, 1/8. So we get the head here. And then we extend. Remember how we have to extend the square just about 1/4, 1/2 of the way up. So this is half, so it goes about 1/2 up. This is half. This is my half line of the square. This is half. Oh, okay, so it is 1/4. And now you can measure this sideways and draw the square. This is a 1/2 square. Sometimes when I start talking in squares and circles, I can get very confusing. I'm aware of that. So if you have not understood it, please tell me, and I have no problem explaining it again. Now, before you get tempted to draw the butterfly in this, first plot that exact shape on the opposite side. Now, this is the tricky bit, because while we are good at drawing one side, it is very often near impossible to get the exact same measurements on the other side, and that can be extremely frustrating. So at every point, please measure out and see whether you're getting the right side. Do not use a scale for this. Just use your eyes, hands, tools at hand, and you should be fine. Whatever lines that I have made which are not right, I'm still keeping them, because somewhere in that I might, there could be something that might work. And count the squares wherever you are. So you know that there's one blank square, then there's one square which has both grids, vertical, horizontal, like this, so that it looks identical on both sides. When you start making it, you realize that even these basic things we can goof up big time. That if we have 4 squares on the right and 4 squares on the left, and we have to do a particular thing in one square, we count differently on the right side and count differently on the left side. I've done this so many times when I had to do cross stitch.
Actually, I find this square thing very confusing. Sorry. Maybe it's just the way my brain is. It can't function in this.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not surprised. So this is just one way that I find I can explain very objectively,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it works. For some, it may not work, and that's
No, I
perfectly
think
okay.
I have to concentrate so much on that that I lose, like it's,
Yeah. But give it a shot,
yeah,
because
I
if
am. I
this
am.
is something new, it might be something that you might just have to get, uh, I guess not get used to. Just try to see the scaffolding,
Yeah.
and imagine the building, you know?
No, it's helpful because I realize otherwise my proportions go totally wonky. So in that sense, it's very helpful. But when I'm going to the minute parts of it, I think I just have to focus. It's just a question of, you know, initially it seems like very, is this square? Is it that square? That kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that does tend to happen. So, don't go into the minute details with this at all. Like right now, I'm plotting all these lines on this grid, and then I will be using the main picture. Like over here, see, at this intersection, the wing has gone from the body outward. So I can draw the same thing over here. I can create an intersection at the same height and length, and then make those lines. So for that, it is invaluable. And then after this is done, then we have to just remove this and make our shapes from the pristine image, the one that does not have all these lines. So in this also, another thing is that we don't have to draw the grid on both sides. You can draw the grid only on one side, and that should suffice. So one more technique for drawing symmetrical objects is to draw one part at a time instead of this whole thing. Like, for example, I should draw these two lines first, these over here next, then this shape going outward and this shape going outward, then this line coming in to wherever it has to come, and then this line coming in. So making one whole shape can be actually a problem, because the moment you draw a line um, in a compounded form, like this is a line, but it has gone a certain distance, turned around and come back. You don't know its corollary on the other side, on the mirror side. It just doesn't work. But if you draw one part of the line, you can draw the other part very easily. So, for example, now if you were to draw the detail, you will notice that there is this teardrop shape over here. We are not drawing too many details, very refined. But over here, the moment you draw it, you can visualize where it has to go on the other side as well. And you land up making it about the same size. If you finish this whole thing and then come to this side, it's near impossible to get that identical. Now, the lines that I'm drawing are also fairly casual. Mostly they're straight. They're not even too curved. And I'm trying to just maintain a certain amount of symmetry, because just instinctively we know that this is a butterfly and everything in the butterfly is very symmetrical. But I'm not really counting how many lines go outward, whatever is fitting, I'm doing it. Now I feel comfortable to draw with ink. Yet I'm not going to make the drawing too refined. I'm going to make it pretty much like this one, but it's going to be on both sides. And in making this drawing now, you can use a combination of the grid or the original image. The original image will give you more detail, and you can then build in those details. But that too, you can build in like this one. Something you draw to the left, then you draw the same thing to the right. When you're drawing all these furs, draw them as vertical lines and not a horizontal line cutting across the edge of the fur. And keep your hands very loose. Oh, and another thing is, if you find that your line is not loose, just see if you're holding the book, or if you're holding your head or your chin. In that case, also sometimes the line can be very cumbersome.
Going the other side is quite difficult.
It is horrible. Even I hate it. That's why we have to do
Yeah.
pencil yoga.
Yeah, I made the wings on this side.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've made the grid, I've made the wings of one
No.
side.
Okay.
Now going the direction, this direction is becoming so difficult.
Yeah, I gave you that instruction late. I'm so sorry. It's my fault.
Yeah.
So try doing it simultaneously.
Hmm.
I'm gonna land up in trouble now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. I had better make the same lines on the other side. So angles, lengths, lines, placement, all of that is easier to plot if you do it at the same time on both sides. Okay, let's try it for the bottom wing. This also happens so many times that you do one thing on one wing or on one side and you completely forget that it's there on the other. We sometimes put ourselves on autopilot so easily.
So when I made jewelry, this was the thing that I did. When I had to make earrings, I did the same thing with both the earrings and then moved forward to the next step. I did one circle in the one earring, did the same circle on the second earring because the hand remembers the movement of the circle. So you could get it quite similar. Otherwise, it would be a difficult.
Exactly. It's exactly the same. What jewelry do you make?
Brass jewelry.
Sorry, what?
Brass jewelry.
Oh,
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see. It's with wire.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me just pin this.
Yeah, it's with copper wire.
Oh,
Copper and
wow.
brass wire.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
This is actually a bookmark, so it goes into a paper. But yeah,
Oh,
I
very
make these
nice.
things.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful. You should share this on the group, on the art.
surely I'll do that.
Actually, I'm going to do that for everyone. I'm just going to ask everyone, what are you doing for Diwali, or what is the creative project you're working on? And please share this because I'm sure everyone is doing something amazing and nobody.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure we have an amazing marketplace of our own, but nobody knows because we are all artists, and in that sense, we are terrible at marketing anything.
True.
Included. I am terrible. All right, my butterfly is reasonably done. I'm not going to do anything more than this because now we're going to spend 10-15 minutes in painting.
I need to go, so I'll catch up the painting in the recording.
All
Okay.
right. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Now for painting, it's the same thing. We have to keep a very light hand. Oh, I've got to put these. And a few things to let go of. One is the desire to make your shapes look or your color look too flat and perfect. Watercolor is not the medium to do that. That is the job of acrylic. So in watercolor, the fun is in allowing the watercolor pigments to go into whatever they want, and you have to just sit back and enjoy the show. The less you control it, the better your illustration looks. Most people are also afraid of watercolor, thinking that what if I make a mistake? And I think for that, the problem is that we we have given mistakes a very bad rep. Mistakes are actually a good thing. That's one. And the other thing is, art is not like other subjects. So you should, at least as a beginner, not treat any mishaps as a mistake. So there's a difference. A mishap is just something that happened that you would have rather not have happened, but it does not necessarily translate into a mistake. So we can enjoy a lot of these mishaps because they are completely unpredictable. And in a sense, that is what art should be. If it's predictable, then how is it different from maths?
I have a little mishap.
You did?
Yeah, I'm a little further behind.
Oh,
Um, but I think when I was drawing the grid, it ended up a little bit like the head of the butterfly ended up a little higher than the wings.
uh-huh.
I'm
Okay.
left with something like this.
All right. Let me just have a look.
Can you see this? Should I put it like
Yeah.
this?
So, yeah. So that, it's easily fixable. What
Is
you
it?
have done is you have started the wings at the height of the head.
Yeah,
Look at it. Everything else seems to be fine. So all you need to do is to take the head and the body and to just
lower.
complete it lower. Yeah. So where you feel the head has started here, you just ditch that part and make the head over here. And I think everything else is in place.
Shall I make the body a little smaller then? Because I think the body is quite big in mine.
That may be, yes, that could be the case because you've extended it further. So,
Yeah,
where you have drawn that one dark line above the at the wing spot, and
yeah.
then above that there's one more line, that is where the head should be, and then I think you should be fine. So
Okay.
that part that you've drawn higher above that is
Like
not
this
even
one?
necessary. Yes. So
Okay.
just above that is where the head will come, I think.
Okay. Let me try that.
Okay. I'm going to take a picture of this. So my video will be off for a little bit. Right. Shall we start painting now? Is everyone okay to start painting, or would you like me to wait?
I have finished only one side, but
Okay. No, then I'll wait because we still have 15 minutes. After you're done inking it, just use your flexible eraser and roll it like a rolling pin over the drawing so you can pick up the graphite and not damage the surface of the paper. All right, if you're mostly done, I'm gonna recommend just sit back now and observe the painting. Don't paint with me. At least the first part. I'm gonna have to do this in a bunch of layers, but I'd like you to see what I'm doing because that is more interesting. And you can then always watch the recording and pause and play and figure it out. So first thing is that whenever you're using color, to always use a palette. You can use the pack of I have too many colors here, that's why I'm using other palette. But take some color out and check the consistency of the paint in the palette. For this application, we need the color to be pretty vibrant, but also not too watery. I'm just going to throw some washes in. So some parts of the paint might get um, lighter, darker, and I'm not going to be too bothered about that because eventually there's a dark line that comes through every. I'm going to paint one wing at a time. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with putting some color in the center and pull it outwards towards this sun. I'm going to dodge around the white spots. Even if they get covered, it's not a big deal. Then I will take a little bit of cerulean blue and put some in these patches over here. Just a very light cerulean blue. And you can use a different brush for this. And one part, if you want to, you can also have fun with the blue by putting it in the yellow itself. Which is somewhere over here. I'll show it again. And sorry, in the other part, we can put a little bit of orange. So what I'm doing is applying a wet on wet and let this orange blend with the yellow. So this is one way of blending. Now the other one that I enjoy more is a little more controlled. So I will apply this orange here. Then I will take the gamboge and I'm going to merge these in such by using these strokes which are perpendicular to the edge that I want merged. And if I want to, I can further merge this with even a cerulean, but I'm going to do one trick where I'm going to put only water and stretch this color outward. And in between these strokes, I am washing my brush and I'm going to merge blue into this. When you enjoy color, these merges are just so delightful. So this is like a progressive color merge. This one is more about dropping color at the right spots and letting it do whatever it does. Both of these are wonderful because here something else is happening. I'm not controlling it. Here there is a certain amount of control, but still partly it'll do whatever it wants to do. This way I get to control what the painting is doing. So now for the bottom wings, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to add a little bit of orange to the bottom wings. And here again, the same thing. This has become too watery. Pull it down all the way to these spots which are also orange. Now, since we have mostly just a black color throughout, it doesn't matter if you just cover this whole area with orange. You don't have to go and color one individual section at a time. When we paint in black, though, we will be painting it what's called in a negative painting. All right, now here I am adding my blue, cerulean blue, which is becoming slightly green because there is still some yellow pigment in my brush. Oh, lovely. So now some of it is going to merge with the green, yellow, and it's going to create its own magic there. Now, these accidents are in a way good for beginners because this is not how the butterfly looks in reality, but that is our contribution to the portrait of this butterfly. What is the point if you make it exactly like it is? This is not botany or biology class. So here is where you find certain ideas of what you want to do to make the painting your own. It is very possible that you might like more colors than this. It is possible that you don't want symmetry in colors. You would just enjoy symmetry in form. But you would never know that if these accidents don't happen, if you don't allow yourself to play with all of these things. If you want, you can add more colors as dots and just see what is happening to all of the shapes over here. Finish it up and enjoy that experiment. And once that happens, then you can clearly say that you are on a path of a more creative pursuit. Till that point, you will be wondering, okay, how can I make something original? How can I make something original? When somebody says, oh, I hear you do art, you'll say, yeah, I can do anything, but I'm not doing anything original. That's because you're not exploring in areas that you've not explored before. So, how is the original idea going to come? Take it from me, an original idea does not come from just sitting around and waiting for it. Definitely not. I have waited for an original idea for 40 years. It didn't come. Then I just went and started plodding through all of this. And suddenly I realized that this is where ideas come from. They are about the mistake that nobody else got or nobody else could make. So I have to now wait for this to dry. That gives you about 4 or 5 minutes to continue your drawing, or if you're done drawing, then you can start painting also. And anyway, we're painting it very casually, so you can do whatever you want and see what's happening over there. Today it is so humid here that it's going to take a long time. No, my butterfly.
Same here also. It's horrible today. Horrible. It's like I always worry. Supposing like a botanist sees it, or they will they say that, oh, but this butterfly doesn't look like this. Oh, but this is so that's like one thing in my head that goes on. Uh,
Yeah, no, that's okay. You can tell them that, yeah, this is based on that butterfly. It's like when people make movies which they call biopics, and then they say loosely based on the life of or inspired by. That gives them the freedom to write anything and get away with anything, saying that this is not really true. It's just based off of this person's life, but it's not his life. So it's the same thing. And I think even with botanists and all, if you are going to illustrate it for a botanical journal, then of course you need to make sure that you draw every little line and color precisely the way it should be. But that when that opportunity comes, you should be ready for it. But till then, you should have fun with it. That is more important.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I've had this conversation with a lot of parents who have come to consult saying that my kid does so much, what should they do? And the first thing they say in order to describe their kids' work is that they can draw anything, but they're only seeing and drawing it. They're only copying. So he's not really an artist, he's just copying. I remember after many years of trying to uh, just nod through the conversation because I really didn't know the answer to their question. I did not know how to make people creative or original or help kids come up with original art. But then over the years that I was teaching kids and I was doing my own art, I realized that like any kind of innovation, which it comes from creative thought, even an original idea can come from maybe distress or not a very pleasant space. But at that point, you have to have the ability to pick the positive, look at the silver lining, not just lament. So it's again, and the other thing also is to keep an open-ended expectation from one's own style of work. Sometimes I feel that we block our expectations for ourselves, saying, I would really like to be able to do X. But that does not mean that A to W and YZ are not good. You've just identified the one thing that you would like to be good at, but all the way till there could be a lot of things that could be avenues towards something creative. So it's worth examining where your expectation comes from. If you break it down, it could have many different aspects to it. The expectation probably comes from admiration for a person's achievement. But then if you were to compare their style of work, it is very possible that you might say, there are other artists who have a better style that resonates with me more. So then the first person is more for the manner in which they probably conducted their career or their rise or their fame or whatever. So if we identify the different aspects, you realize that there is a little bit in every or multiple people that you would find good as an expectation for yourself. Out of that, the first thing that I guess you should examine is, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to convey with your art? It is, after all, a medium of communicating and sharing. Sharing, it doesn't have to be sharing stories, it does not have to be sharing ideas, it could just be sharing joy. So you find kinship in, I guess, the same colors that you use, and there's somebody else who finds the same kind of peace or enjoys the same colors, then that becomes your audience, and you communicate to each other through those colors and forms. And in that group, you start making your own version of a sense of well-being for yourself. So it's not always the grand story. It can be little things that can also connect people. So if that is your pursuit, then it can start with a card, it can start with a bookmark or whatever. And from there it can grow, because then it is very organic and it is not projected and then forcefully attached to your identity, because you have at some point had an aspiration that was influenced without too much examination. It could have been at a younger age. It could have been through influences that are no longer significant in your life. So maybe it has become redundant and you don't even know it. Okay, so my butterfly has decided to not dry for
Even
a
Aditi,
day.
as a botanist, like I have drawn botanical drawings for like till PhD, and
Oh.
uh, I have taught students for 8 years in university. But
Mm.
then also, when we draw, it looks so artistic and beautiful. Sometimes it is not so beautiful and presenting it in the botanical drawings also. So we should not even think like always the scientific drawings are like good, or yeah, they are scientifically true, but not sometimes not artistically beautiful.
Mm.
So that's okay. Like if it is drawn both way, by artistically and scientifically, then I think it looks more attractive to present anywhere on any platform
Any
than.
form. That's true. I have had this again, I have these discussions with so many people. The idea of what is beautiful and what appeals to a lot of people is also very varied. And the more I interact with people, or maybe the older I'm getting, I realize that just because one is good does not make the other bad, especially when it comes to something as subjective as art. And I think that's a good thing. Most things are like that. Opinions are like that. People are like that. Just because one person is very good doesn't make the other person very bad. So we live more in the grades. And having variety of things is excellent also. So if you have a very beautiful, completely inaccurate botanical illustration, it's the beauty you enjoy. If you have a very accurate illustration but not very beautiful, you enjoy it for the botany. And if it is neither, you just call it some kind of abstract expressionism and enjoy it for just that and finish it off.
Okay, so drawing done. Now I have to erase.
Okay, so I'm going to make a time lapse video of how I color the rest. Okay, that way then
Okay.
we can get on with our evening. And I'm going to share the picture of the butterfly in its early stage as a pen illustration in at this first layer of watercolor illustration as well. And then, of course, after it is completed. So you will see how it has changed with each addition of medium. Any questions so far? Or any clarifications?
No.
I just want to ask, you mentioned that for the black portion you would be using like a negative painting technique. How do you do that?
So negative painting is nothing but drawing in the area around the area that you want left seen. So which means that here we have some lines which are that are going to reveal the colors in a certain shape. So we just paint around that. That's about it. So negative painting can also be seen as, for example, if you are drawing my silhouette and you paint in the negative space around me to indicate my presence. That is negative painting. When it comes to, say, leaves with a very light colored network of veins and dark colored sections in between the veins, then you paint the whole leaf that light color and then go ahead and just paint the sections in between the veins. So that is negative painting. So you leave out a section of color that that reveals itself because its surroundings are color. That's it. But I will be painting that either later tonight or tomorrow, and I'll share the time lapse with you. So you'll be able to see what it means. All right. Anything else? Anyone else with questions? If you do have questions, please freely put them on the group. I enjoy answering questions and I challenge most of my students. I've done this since school. I challenge you to stump me because that way, then I can also go and do some research and find out something more. And if there's so next week we will be doing some other insects, but if there is something that you'd like to do, please share with me. To give you an idea, we are going to do insects which have a gloss or a shiny finish. So that is something that often is difficult to achieve. So we'll do that. Maybe beetles and scarabs next week. And then you can come up with more ideas yourself.
Centipedes, maybe.
Centipedes, I absolutely hate centipedes, but okay, we'll try those. But just send me some pictures and we should make them. I try to look at like they say in our philosophy, I like to look at the God in them because they're so ugly, but they must have a purpose on the planet.
Good.
And they were just born that way, so it's so sad. Yeah, no control. All right, chalo, thank you everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.